Hello, everyone. This is Wrestling Watcher, a YouTube channel. It's about watching professional wrestling. So, a lot of things have been bought up about Triple H's booking. Lack of direction, lack of consistency. You'll see. Repetitive finishes, sort of less than what it should be, less than what is expected. And it's interesting. You think about WrestleMania's, the past few years. You look at 39 and 40. Even going back to 38, but that was still obviously the Vince McMahon era. But definitely looking at 39, definitely 40, the first one of the Triple H era. You had larger than life, massive stories that were playing out within the bloodline. And Roman Reigns, and you had Cody, and 40 had The Rock, the final boss. You had these epic stories playing out, and it made booking easier for Triple H because the stories were already built. But now he's the one expected to build the stories himself as the booker. And people have pointed out issues with this booking. Last year, 41, with Cena, the finish there feeling sort of less than. Travis Scott showing up, The Rock not being there. Now, I will defend Triple H in this way. I think the first night of WrestleMania 41, some people say the show was really good. Or some people say night one of Mania wasn't great, but the ending was great, right? But honestly, I thought the show was what it needed to be. You look at the end of night one, Paul Heyman turning on CM Punk and Roman, joining Seth Rollins, and then we have the creation of the Vision. Well, what's the point of the Vision? To get a new heel faction over. And what was the Vision supposed to be? You got Seth, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. Eventually you'd want to have someone else join them, right? Eventually that would become Logan Paul, but that was after Seth was injured. Once he's injured, you got to go in a different direction if he's going to be out for a while. And then you have, obviously, Braun Breaker take over with Bronson Reed behind him. And soon after, you have Logan Paul and Austin Theory join the group, and you're supposed to have this sort of early 90s sort of dangerous alliance faction with a bunch of young guys just wanting to take over the business, with Braun Breaker as sort of the de facto leader. That's not bad booking. That in and of itself is not bad booking. That's classic pro wrestling booking. 3, 4 young guys, newer guys. Yes, Bronson Reed, I think a little older. I think he's past 35, but still has some years to him. You're obviously trying to build new stars. That's not bad booking. Part of this, too, is the injury bug. You can't blame Triple H for the injury bug. I don't think. Seth goes out. Breaker goes out. Now Bronson Reed has a bicep injury. That's not really on Triple H. I think he's done some good things booking. I think he's trying to create epic stories, but things keep happening that kind of prevent that. You got to give him credit for, I think, the CM Punk run. I think CM Punk, since he's been back, has been booked pretty darn well. Now, Triple H won't get full credit for that because if you're a top guy, like a CM Punk, or even a Drew McIntyre or Cody, they've always been hand in hand with the booker, creating their stories and creating the programs that they're going to tell. No doubt CM Punk has been front and center and as part of his own booking since he's been back. And we look at the 2024 feud with Drew McIntyre and his feud with Seth Rollins and his feud with Roman. You got to give Triple H some credit as a booker, but look, those are top guys, so they're helping him with it. So he's not going to get that credit. You look at the booker for the underneath guys, how are they brought up? I think Javon Evans is coming along nicely. I think Damian Priest has come along nicely. If you look at where he was with the Judgment Day and where he is now in his world title run, he's in the mix. He's a star. Now look, it's one thing to get the guy to the top, it's another thing for them to stay there. Part of that is their own responsibility, right? It's not like WWE has a lack of talent. There's so much talent on both sides of the aisle there on Raw and SmackDown. And you got more in NXT that's going to be coming up. So I understand why people criticize Triple H's booking. Sometimes stories get started and then it's like they stop, right? You know, Randy Orton was talking about getting a world championship. They were teasing a Randy Orton sort of turning heel against Cody that never materialized, right? And you look at it and you think to yourself, well, why are these stories unfinished? And maybe directions just changed. Look at the Cena story. We thought we were going to get this super heel sort of trio with Travis Scott and The Rock and John Cena, and he was going to ruin wrestling by taking the title with him, and then The Rock never shows up again afterwards. And then Travis Scott shows up at Mania on that Night 2 show, and it's considered a terrible finish. Not that people didn't want Cena to get 17, but that Travis Scott was involved and there was no Rock. People were expecting Rock. They didn't get Rock. And, you know, that's one of those things where plans change. Let's remember, Rock had a Scorsese film to get ready for. You know, but things get put on Triple H because he is the booker, the top booker, the creative control guy, the one in charge of creative. So they put it on him. But you got to give him some sort of pass or leniency because injury bugs have clearly interrupted stories that he's wanted to tell. Problem is the execution of the story in and of itself. Let's look at Bronson Reed. He's one of two people, him and Cody Rhodes, that have defeated Roman Reigns since the year 2020, right? Since 2019, there's been two people to pin Roman. Three, counting Jey Uso. But in singles competition 101, it's Cody, and it is Bronson Reed. What happened after Bronson Reed got that monumental victory that should have been a career-altering, career-launching victory? He's been relegated to sort of just one of the guys sitting in the room with Braun Breaker before his injury. And then they tried to propel him up to be more of the face of the group, the leader of the group, with Theory and Logan Paul with him, and now he's injured. But the point is, he should have been further up the card after that victory against Roman. That should have been monumental, but that didn't happen afterwards. He, like I said, he got relegated to almost a lackey. So I understand the issue with Triple H's booking. Because there's been some real lapses. There's been a real sort of lack of continuity, lack of consistency, and it's definitely there, but some of it is injury. Some of it is. And you can't put all that on him. Not the injury stuff. Thanks, guys. It's going to be all for this one.